Hey everybody, it's Greg Rice. We're here in downtown Providence. We're at the Turk's Head building. A big thank you to my friend Zach LeVake of North Point Bank for hosting us and letting us in this beautiful podcast space. We're here today with Brad and we're with Fran as well of Northeast Private Client Group. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Oh, you got a cue card from me. NEPCG.
Northeast PCG.
And these guys are here today to talk to us about adaptive reuse, right? Especially during COVID, buildings are changing and their uses are changing. So why don't you lead off and define adaptive reuse? Tell the folks at home what that means.
So basically, what that means is finding an existing building that can be repurposed into a different use. And one of the biggest trends is taking a building that might be office or motel and converting that into apartments or efficiency units that can provide the market with affordable, housing options.
Anything you want to add, Fran?
No, I would say that's fine. Any way you can find to reposition the building just to fit. Like he said, one of the bigger trends is office into apartments, but now guys are finding ways to change larger office space into smaller, more efficient units. Again, because of COVID, people are changing the way, they're leasing up their space. A lot of the times now that people can work from home, they don't need as much office space. So smaller space seems to be what more tenants are looking for.
And is it like communal space that you guys are seeing, like a shared office? Is that common, or is it still like this is this lawyer's office, this is this accountant's, or is it kind of, rent a desk or a cubicle? Do you see any of that up in Boston?
What you're seeing a lot of is taking the older building style that is very systematic and creating more of a communal working space for all of the tenants, where each tenant might have their section, but in the middle floor in the common areas you have coffee bars, different things to make it more attractive for younger companies to come in that thrive off working together. So there's definitely a mix of companies that will just continue to work from home, but there's a lot of small companies that are being created that still need that work camaraderie.
Right.
And these buildings are getting adapted to, service those companies on the outskirts of the city, where housing's a little bit more affordable, rents might be a little bit more affordable, and we're also seeing a lot of office buildings getting converted to life science, lab, data center storage. There's all different things that are going on in the adaptive reuse space.
One thing you bring up a good point is camaraderie. I think that has been lost in this whole COVID, work from home, work remote, we're safer apart, that whole agenda. You have to have people together to thrive. Would you agree as far as a work atmosphere goes?
Collaborating ideas is, probably, what you're talking about. I during COVID, I don't think I could have been at home the whole time.
Right.
I had to go to the office and be around other people, just to get my juices flowing.
Yes. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, we had about a month from April to May where we worked from home, but not much got done because we weren't in the office working together. So we have a small office. We have 8 or 9 guys, in our office, and we thrive working together, bouncing off ideas and working on different projects together and being able to communicate very quickly.
Right.
Being in that one space. So
hey, what do you think? Oh yeah, like that.
Exactly.
And talk about your offices. You guys have 4 in New England, right? You got 1 Boston, Connecticut, 2 more, right?
Yeah, so we have Shelton, Connecticut is the home office. That's where the company started. Our CEO, Ed Jordan, and Brad Bolito started the company 10 or 11 years ago in Shelton, Connecticut.
Cool.
Our colleague Drew started the Boston office in Newton.
And that's where you
7
guys
years
are out
ago.
of?
That's where we're out of.
Gotcha.
We have a satellite office in White Plains, New York. We also have a satellite office in Jacksonville, Florida, where we have our Southeast Private Client Group.
And what do you guys do on a daily basis? Fran, tell us your daily schedule if there is one.
No, there is no daily schedule. I mean, every day is different is what I really love about it. You know, I could be at the office all day, or I could be running around, or it could be a mixture of both. I think that's what I really liked about the business when I started. There's no
Gotcha.
set thing that I'm supposed to be doing every day. You know,
What was yesterday like?
Yesterday was an office day, so I was primarily in the office, you know, working on marketing materials, trying to, you know, prospect and build new leads, you know, underwriting properties. So I like those days the best. They feel the most productive, but I also like, you know, being out and about.
How about you? Normal day.
Normal day, I mean, like Francis said, is all over the place. You know, we could be on a property tour, we could be meeting an owner to discuss the value of his building or her building to decide if it makes sense for them to sell. Otherwise, I'm in the office, you know, trying to cultivate new business, you know, transaction management, dealing with banks, attorneys, appraisers, other agents, pitching our newest listings that we have for sale, creating marketing packages. Yesterday I was on the road all day, so I was up in Manchester, New Hampshire, then to Dover, New Hampshire, then to Hampton, New Hampshire, then back down to Boston.
So you guys have like hours radius that you'll travel?
Yeah.
Pretty
Pretty
much. Say we
much
put a good miles on the car.
maybe an hour to 2 hours max.
Wow.
Like, you know, we get down here in an hour,
Yeah.
so if we're looking at property in Rhode Island,
Yeah.
you know, we have properties for sale in Fall River, New Bedford,
Yep.
Boston, Providence, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, North Massachusetts, out to Worcester. So we all work cohesively together on many different projects.
One thing I like about these guys is that they handle specifically the larger complexes, the larger portfolios. A realtor is good. I love you guys. You're great. But that is a whole new ball game when you start getting into, just say 6+ units, but really 12+ is really where I feel that market changes. That's a whole different animal from dealing with the tenants and coordinating showings and just the type of buyers that you get. How did you guys, or maybe your CEO, choose that niche, if you will?
Well, it's a very specialized market, I would say, and product type. Most guys, when they think of like commercial, they don't usually think about, you know, apartment buildings or residential over 6 units.
Right.
But that's where the game really does change, and in selling a product like that, it changes as well. You're not looking for your typical owner user that's going to, you know, buy it, live in one of the units, and hypothetically have, you know, 2 other tenants help him pay the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is more of a business, and you're gonna have to run it, operate it, and it takes, you know, a certain kind of guy to do that.
For sure. And the reason we're here today is because of adaptive reuse. I'm developing a church in Woonsocket, as a matter of fact. What do you guys see as that next, I guess, property type that will be in need of reuse? Like, I feel the mills were you know, when we were young, we're all in the 30-year-old range. When we were like 10 years old, the mills were getting snatched up. But now they're all gone for the most part.
100%.
And if there's any left, usually they're dirty, where they just don't make sense. There's not enough parking, stuff like that. What do you guys see as our generation's horizon as far as adaptive reuse goes? Do you think it's churches? Do you think it's malls, maybe? Libraries? What do you think?
I think any, you know, buildings or structures in specific locations that can be bought at a certain price per square foot, where, like in your circumstance, the acquisition cost of the building, the way it sits, the location, the land included, plus the construction costs of creating those 33 units, all of that math needs to make sense for the investor. What I think for like our next generation, what we're going to be seeing a lot is the malls, these big box stores there's so much land there, and a lot of these municipalities, I think, are going to have to adapt and allow apartments to be built on these lots, where you might see apartments up top and then retail on the bottom.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense where you already have retail there. If they're not being occupied, then maybe they can be repurposed into high-rise apartments with retail on the bottom. You're seeing a lot of office buildings being built that are on large plots of land. There's typically not a lot of homeowners that live around the outlying
Right.
property line. So you're seeing a lot of big-time developers buying office buildings, and then they're going to get apartments permitted right next door.
Right.
There's a lot of examples of that going on outside of Boston, and you're going to continue to see that in areas like Rhode Island, up into New Hampshire, where people are moving because Boston's very expensive. A lot of people are understanding that they can move and work from home and have a more affordable rent, save more money, and maybe have a better lifestyle if they move out of such an expensive area.
Right.
So that's a big problem that I think everybody's trying to solve, is how can I provide quality, affordable housing to some extent and still make some money doing that. So
Good point.
No, I mean, I don't have much to add to that. I mean, I think one of the more popular property types that have come out of COVID has been retail that has like a drive-through or something where people don't have to go in and be so interactive, or medical storage, and apartment buildings. So that has been, at least for us, one of the more products in demand. Most guys reach out and ask, what kind of apartment buildings we have for sale, and they all want scale. They
Yeah.
all want 10 plus
The
units.
volume.
Yeah.
To your point about work-life balance, right? There's a gentleman, his name is Carl, he owns Vibe Co., which is down in Wyoming, Rhode Island. It's right on the Connecticut border. It's very rural, and they do vibrators for big concrete vats. They keep the metal so that the concrete doesn't get air pockets. Very niche business. So it's tough to get workers there in general. And the fact that it's rural, the bus lines don't come down there. It's 45 minutes to get there. He's thinking about building a mill village on the site of the factory so that people can walk to work. And I'm interviewing Carl in a few weeks to talk about that, because that's how New England was started. The Industrial Revolution was every river had a mill, and behind the mill was all the mill houses. So he's thinking about bringing it back to the old school 250 years ago, and I think it's a great idea.
it's a very good idea. How many workers does he have?
I'll find out when I interview him, but it looks to me like maybe he's got 100 to 200 full-time staff. So if he offers the option to live there and then you walk to work, do you think people would gobble that up in a rural setting?
I think so. And I think, that type of worker or tenant's probably only there for 3 to 5 years. And I think there'll be enough people that can
Filter.
filter through. And he can also rent to people down there that need an affordable place. I guess the big equation is going to be, what is it going to cost them to
Right.
build, and then do the numbers work.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's all math. And, if you're going to put in the effort, everyone wants a return on their investment.
For sure.
So,
Interesting, right?
Yeah, that's good.
very interesting.
How about this? I always ask people this, very simple. What's your favorite part of your job? What's your least favorite part of your job that you wish you could just say, the hell with this, enough?
So my favorite part of the job is figuring out, how I can help the client that I'm representing, and making sure that the process gets from A to Z.
Yep.
And making sure, you do what you say you're going to do, and the satisfaction of producing good results, and having the buyers be happy as well, is probably my favorite part of the job. My least favorite part of the job is dealing with the fire department for fire certificates, because a lot of building owners,
They don't keep up.
They don't keep up with the code standards. So your building might be up to code and okay that you're owning it, but once you go to sell it in Massachusetts, for example, you have to bring it all the way up to code. So a lot of times before a sale, you might have to add a whole new fire system, heat detectors, all of these things that just take a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of headache, and it delays the sale. And it can get a little dicey if it delays it too long and interest rates go up.
Right.
So that's my least favorite part of the job.
Is compliance.
Fire system compliance. It's very unfortunate. And in Connecticut, they don't have to deal with it because you can sell a building and you don't need it for some fire certificate.
In Rhode Island, I would say it's dependent on the bank's preference. So if you get a bank that's like, that, no problem, or you get a bank that's like, we need that pink certificate. But if it's a cash deal, there's nobody to say like, we're not going to record this deed. I think maybe one town, West Warwick, won't record the deed unless you get that certificate. But I feel like you guys are much more rigid on those rules up there.
Oh, absolutely. And most people are using financing.
Right.
There might not be a contingency on financing, but 9 times out of 10, 75% of the money's coming from the bank.
Right.
So that's a big challenge.
Wow, good one.
So I would say my favorite part of the job is being on the phone, because when I'm on the phone, I can speak to multiple people in a day, and I'm always somehow learning something every day, and it's constant. And I thought by now I would know most of what goes on in the business, but you're always meeting new people and finding out what they did, why they're successful, and there's really no wrong or right way. A lot of them just take the risk, and they come out on top.
Mm-hmm.
My least favorite is probably if a lender asks for estoppels, maybe going around and having begging all the tenants to sign an estoppel certificate. That's probably my least favorite, knocking on people's doors and asking for that. Yeah.
That could get dicey too if the tenant is like, the hell with you guys. I'm sure you deal with tenants that don't even let you in, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
You go for
now
a showing
it's
and they're
just
like
tough.
Especially with COVID.
Knock on their door, they're like, we have COVID, don't come in. So that's always a nightmare for me.
It's a good one. So fire and tenants. And if you guys at home, if they want to get in touch with you, your office, how do they do so?
You check us out at northeastpcg.com. My name's Brad Carlson. My email is bcarlson@northeastpcg.com. And we specialize in the sale of apartment buildings from 6 units to 150 units, retail, some office, some development projects, permanent projects, all kinds of different things.
Cool. And you want to throw your info in there too?
Yeah, Francis signs, and my email's just my first initial with my last name, fsigns@northeastpcg. And you could look up our whole team online as well at northeastpcg.com. Cool.
And a special shout out to Tim McGreary. Am I saying that right?
Yes, Tim McGreary.
Tim, I've dealt with Tim a few times. Good person. We've never put anything together yet, but the day's coming. So, guys, thank you very much. Thank you for chatting.
Absolutely.
And if you have any questions for me, throw them in the comments field below. I'll get right back to you. Once again, Greg Rice here in the Turk's Head building in downtown Providence.